makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
1 year after taking the oath of office, it is obvious that Joe Biden's presidency is over. It's finished. He's a lame duck. And the Democrats have nothing to look forward to but some serious electoral pain. Yet another shellacking, to use Obama's term, in the 2022 midterms and the 2024 elections. I don't think they will manage to squeeze out any sort of victory in either. And they have themselves to blame. Biden has only himself to blame. He came in as a president promising to undo many of the things that Trump did, and he has fallen short of that. He promised an FDR-style agenda to address many of the US's long-standing structural problems. He has failed at that as well. And he seems completely unwilling to really, flex any of his muscles as the president of the United States against really the rogue members of his own party, which are Republicans in all but name. And I'm talking about Joe Manchin, I'm talking about Sinema, and I'm talking about certainly the many other members of the Democratic Party who would be acting the same way as Manchin and Sinema if Manchin and Sinema weren't there to do it for them. So this is fundamentally a corrupt party that doesn't really want to address any of those problems. They want to run on we're not Trump in 2022 and 2024, and then get another mandate to do absolutely nothing. So let's look at the data, the polling numbers, which are just insane. So this is from 538. This is the approval rating of Biden, which is the thick blue line, versus every other recent president. And as you can see, the approval rating of Biden is tanking pretty bad. He is the most unpopular president after a year than either George W. Bush, which admittedly was artificially inflated by 9/11, or Obama or Clinton. And he's narrowing the gap with Trump, which we know is, was the most unpopular president of all time. Even then, the difference between the two is really, really narrow. So Biden with a 42% approval versus Trump's 39%, that's just 3 percentage points, despite the fact that earlier in the year, the difference was about 10 percentage points. So not good on the approval ratings. Also not good in terms of party affiliation. A recent Gallup poll showed that after quite some time, party identification has swung towards the Republicans. So 47% of respondents identified as Republicans, which is much higher. It's been steadily creeping up, but it's now much higher than over the past year. Whereas identification as a Democrat has slumped to 42%. So again, this is what happens when you're a party that promises a lot and delivers absolutely nothing to people. And well, the death blow really was, I mean, you could see this coming from a mile away. You could definitely have seen it when the Build Back Better bill was shelved because they couldn't find enough votes to support it. But it definitely, the death blow was this recent vote. The Senate held a vote to eliminate the filibuster so that then they could pass the voting rights bill. For those who might be unfamiliar with U.S. politics, the Senate currently requires for most voting a 60-vote threshold to pass, which clearly would require 10 Republicans to vote in favor of whatever the Democrats pass, making it pretty much impossible for anything to pass in the Senate. So this vote to eliminate the filibuster was torpedoed by who else? Joe Manchin and Sinema, both of which voted against it. And for the reasons that they've always been given for voting against everything. according to these two incredibly corrupt and incredibly hypocritical senators, they think there's a bigger, they think eliminating the filibuster is a bigger threat to American democracy than not passing any of the bills that would pass if there wasn't a filibuster. So all these good things that promote, material gains to the American electorate and to the American people overall, no. Keeping the filibuster is better, and because otherwise it just amplifies the division on both sides. And what if the Republicans win? They will abuse the lack of a filibuster. Well, guess what? The Republicans are going to win if you don't pass anything that improves the material conditions of the electorate. So you're basically creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that the Republicans, you don't want to eliminate the filibuster because you think the Republicans are going to abuse it, but then by not eliminating the filibuster, you basically get fuck all done, which guarantees that the Republicans are going to eventually come back into office. So that is the logic of these two complete, utter, corrupt idiots. And I just want to show you the video of Kyrsten Sinema's speech, which was absolutely demented. Like, this is she is wrong in the head. I've said this in previous videos. She is there's something damaged up there. She is, honestly, I do think she is probably I wouldn't even say I think she's a psychopath. Honestly, I think, yeah, there is nothing normal about this woman. Nothing normal. And this video is demented for obviously the line of argumentation that she gives on why the filibuster is some sacred senatorial procedure that cannot be eliminated. But also the fact that throughout this whole speech, her voice is cracking. She sounds like she's crying. And this could only be either she was really, really nervous about this speech, because people's voices often crack when you're nervous. But I don't think that's the case. So I do think that this is a case of her trying to appear more emotional than she actually is, which is psychotic. It's absolutely psychotic. So this is full of like false emotion and false drama throughout. But I don't want to show the whole 20 minutes of this insanity. But just listen to this bit here.
Eliminating the 60-vote threshold on a party line with the thinnest of possible majorities to pass these bills that I support will not guarantee that we prevent demagogues from winning office.
Again, absolutely stupid line of argumentation. Because if you don't get anything done, those demagogues will win the next elections.
Indeed, some who undermine the principles of democracy have already been elected. Rather, eliminating the 60-vote threshold will simply guarantee that we lose a critical tool that we need to safeguard our democracy from threats in the years to come.
Honestly, like, Mexican soap opera actors do a better job than she is doing here. And this is like the low bar of acting. Really low bar.
It is clear that the two parties' strategies are not working. Not for either side. And especially not for the country. Now, it's comfortable for members of each party, particularly those who spent their career in party politics, to think that their respective party alone can move the country forward.
That's kind of the point. This is ridiculous. Here's what's also ridiculous. This idea that she and Manchin are promoting, that only through bipartisanship can shit get done. Look, the grand majority of countries in democracies on this planet at least like the functioning ones in Europe, are parliamentary democracies. In parliamentary democracies, no one gives a damn about bipartisanship. In Britain, no one cares about bipartisanship. It is assumed that you win an election, you have a mandate to push your agenda, whether the opposing party wants to or not. If you don't win a majority, then you'll have to, come to power as a coalition, and then your coalition partners will maybe cancel out some of the what might be the more radical elements of your agenda. That's how politics works in those countries. But no one says bipartisanship anywhere else than in the US. Like, only in the mind of these people is bipartisanship so important. It's not important at all. It's completely irrelevant. You win an election to pass your agenda. If the other party doesn't agree to your agenda, then fuck them.
Party control becomes a goal in and of itself, instead of prioritizing a healthy, appropriate balance in which Americans' diverse views and shared values are represented. But
the grand majority of Americans support a left-wing progressive agenda, which to Kyrsten Sinema would be like communism. The grand majority of Americans supported Build Back Better. So, this is, I don't know what polls she's listening to that say otherwise. But the fact is, the grand majority of Americans support all the things that she is now actively working to derail.
When one party need only negotiate with itself, policy will inextricably be pushed from the middle towards the extremes. And I understand there are some on both sides of the aisle that prefer that outcome, but I do not. And I know that Arizonans do not either. Our country's first president, George Washington, a leader whose wisdom I borrowed at the conclusion of the 2020 impeachment trial, he warned against political factions more than 200 years ago, saying that extreme partisanship could lead to the ruins of public liberty. I was no party man myself, Washington wrote, and the first wish of my heart was, if parties did exist, to reconcile them. Today, we serve in an equally divided Senate, and today marks the longest time in history that the Senate has been equally divided. The House of Representatives is nearly equally divided as well. Our mandate? It seems evident to me. Work together and get stuff done for.
No, that's not your mandate. Your mandate is the agenda to which Joe Biden was elected on. That is the mandate. She just invented this mandate of work together, reach across the... No. That's not on the agenda.
America. And the past years have shown when a party in control pushes party line changes exceeding their electoral mandate, the bitterness within our politics is exacerbated. Tensions are raised within the country, and traditionally, nonpartisan issues are transformed into partisan wedges. We must address the disease itself, the disease of division, to protect our democracy.
So, as you can see from the video, this is 20 minutes long, and I saw the whole thing before doing this video, and she repeats that phrase over and over and over, that division is the disease, but it's not. Division is also a symptom of the real disease, which is the fundamental corruption of the US political system, and the fact that neither party is fundamentally interested in addressing the country's structural problems. That's the real disease. So if you want to cure the disease, then it's very easy. Get shit done. That's how you cure the disease.
And it cannot be achieved by one party alone. It cannot be achieved solely by the federal government. The response requires something greater and, yes, more difficult than what the Senate is discussing today. We need robust, sustained strategies that put aside party labels and focus on our democracy, because these challenges are bigger than party affiliation.
So basically, she also spends much of the beginning of this video saying that, and she's going to describe what the solution to the problem of division is. And what's her solution? We all need to change. This is ridiculous. This is like the most hyper-capitalist, individualistic response to it. We need to enlighten ourselves. This is almost like Steven Pinker speaking about how all the world's ills will be resolved if people read his books and become more rational and enlightened. That's what Sinema is basically advocating for. That we all must change. The Republican Party must one day wake up and think, you know what? Maybe we're not going to spend our entire, every waking moment of our existence as opposition to derail whatever the other party does, which is what we've been doing for the past 25 years, since like Newt Gingrich was there. That's literally what she's saying. She doesn't have a solution to this. She says she had a solution to this, and I watched the whole freaking video to wait for the moment where she had a solution to this. Her solution is no, just everyone needs to be more enlightened. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And again, absolutely insane that the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the most powerful country on earth, is apparently powerless to prevent someone like Sinema or someone like Manchin from derailing his agenda, which proves that he wasn't that eager. He wasn't that eager to do it. Yeah. In the meantime, enough of Kyrsten Sinema. Here's a response from Jensakis on what the country needs to do after it has had its voting rights law derailed. Here's her incredible answer.
So my advice to everyone out there who's frustrated, sad, angry, pissed off, feel those emotions, go to a kickboxing class, have a margarita, do whatever you need to do this weekend, and then wake up on Monday morning. We got to keep fighting. And what that means, Lindsay, is we have to keep talking to members about federal legislation. That's essential. That's something that can be permanent, that can make sure people's rights are protected. But we also need to make sure people are educated in states across the country about what their rights are, how they can vote, when they can vote, how to request an absentee ballot. There's a lot we need to do on that front, and that's going to rely on the energy and the anger of that activism as well. So
basically, we're just not going to fight for you. You voted for us to fight for you, but we just give up. It's your responsibility now. You didn't request an absentee ballot in time. Guess it's your fault. Really guess it's your fault. So let's just let Republicans continue passing voting restrictions across the board, and God knows what's going to happen after 2022 and 2024. But yeah, it's not on ball's not on our court. It's on yours, guys. That is the epitome of the absolute incompetence and disinterest of the Biden administration in doing anything for ordinary people. And again, let's just assume for a second that Biden could do everything he can against Manchin and Sinema, and even then they don't change. I mean, he can't remove them. That's a fact. So let's just assume that all the coercion in the world doesn't manage to shift Manchin and Sinema into voting in favor of anything that Biden proposes. Even then, Biden is sitting on a ton of potential executive orders that he could sign that would have material positive impacts on people, and he hasn't done it. So again, stripping out any congressional issues aside, Biden has the power to change things, and he doesn't do anything. So he's just not interested. That's the real thing. He's not interested. And I made a video, one of my very first videos on this channel, which at the time I didn't publish. This was while I was trialing this, but then a while back I remade it public. So I'm gonna link to it. And this is, I think, from May of last year, where I said basically you can really tell that Biden is not interested in any of this, because a lot of the sort of lefty progressive stuff that he has been openly in favor of, it's conveniently the things that he puts into a possibility that they may be derailed elsewhere. So anything that that Congress can derail, then he'll propose it. Then he'll appear to back it up. Things like supposedly, his the COVID vaccine, stripping it of IP protection, which he said he was going to do. Again, he put it up to the WHO, knowing that any other country could derail it, which they did. I believe it was Germany who derailed it, or some other European country. But then the stuff that he could do by presidential order, that he sort of keeps quiet about. So he's not interested in any of this. And as final proof of this, a reminder that at this moment, knowing that his presidency is on the verge of complete irrelevance, this is his reply to the accusation that he's gone too far to the left.
Why are you trying so hard in your first year to pull the country so far to the left?
Well, I'm not. I don't know what you consider to be too far to the left. If in fact we're talking about making sure that we had the money for COVID, making sure we had the money to put together the bipartisan infrastructure, making sure we were able to provide for those things that in fact would significantly reduce the burden on working class people, but make them, they have to continue to work hard. I don't know how that is pulling it to the left. If you may recall, you guys have been trying to convince me that I am Bernie Sanders. I'm not. I like him, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been. And mainstream Democrats have overwhelmed me. If you notice, the 48 of the 50 Democrats supported me in the Senate on virtually everything I've asked.
I rest my case. Because a lot of the people voted for Biden because they thought he could get things done, unlike Bernie. And as it turns out, I'm pretty sure Bernie could have achieved more at this point. But that is liberal centrism for you. A fake ideology, a non-ideology, a pathology, rather, that has no ideas for how to solve any major issue in that country or the world. And Biden absolutely exemplifies that poverty of mind and poverty of imagination. So, on that note, if you like this video, please like, please share, please subscribe. Apologies that I have not made many videos this week. I fell ill with a possible Omicron. Not sure if it was. I took a test. It came out negative, but the symptoms were very, very suspicious. So haven't been feeling 100%. My voice is still a bit off, but I am fine. Vaccines work if it was Omicron. So on that note, I will see you next time.